On today's podcast, we'll be covering pedestrian shaped floor markings, so stay tuned. Welcome to Warehouse Safety Tips. You can find the show notes to each episode, links to information mentioned on the podcast, the social media platforms we're on, and anything else related to the podcast at warehousesafetytips.com. Now, if you're a seasoned podcast listener, this podcast is going to be different from most you listen to. It's based around exactly what the name implies, warehouse safety tips. And since the people in this industry are busy, we know that time is money and each episode will be as short and to the point as possible. And now, with all of that out of the way, let's get to the podcast. Our last several podcasts have centered around social distancing. Every time we think we've covered what we want to tell you, we get pulled back in. Before telling you about the products we're showcasing this week, let me tell you a story. Just after the stores were allowed to open back up during the pandemic, I visited a retail store. I needed customer service, so I was directed to a staging area that they'd made to accommodate social distancing. They'd taken what had looked like painter's tape and had made squares and numbers on the ground to stand in. Each square, the numbers were in painter's tape as well. And all the tape was dirty, torn, and or missing in spots and was very unprofessional looking. Non-adhering and unprofessional looking painter's tape could have been avoided with a combination of tape, angles, shapes, and or numbers. Now, on our last podcast, one of our social distancing floor markings we spoke about were arrows. This week, we have yet another shape that can be used for social distancing and or to show direction for aisles, tours, walkways, just to name a few. This shape is the pedestrian floor marking. Simply adhere it to the floor and you have an instantly recognizable symbol for where to stand. As mentioned above, you could place these throughout your facility showing the direction that needs to be taken by a tour as well. Visit our website warehousesafetytips.com and click on episode 39 to see what a pedestrian floor marking looks like. We mentioned this last week, but it's well worth mentioning again. Unlike paint, removable safety floor markings such as arrows or the pedestrian floor marking can be removed and or replaced with minimal loss of production time. We're happy to provide you with solutions to make your facility safe, organized, and social distancing compliant. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Warehouse Safety Tips, and stay safe. Before going on, let's hear a word from one of our sponsors. If you've ever been to or worked in a warehouse, you know just how important safety is to both management and staff. It's almost impossible to go 10 steps without seeing safety tape, angles, signs, and or safety products. It's these items that show us how to be safe and avoid danger in the workplace. And if you're looking for the best products to make this happen, look no further than Mighty Line. Mighty Line floor signs and floor markings offer the best industrial products out there. We're proud to have Mighty Line as the official floor sign and floor marking company for the Warehouse Safety Tips podcast and site. Go to mightylinetape.com/safety tips to request a sample pack of their incredible safety signs and floor markings. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Warehouse Safety Tips. If you visit warehousesafetytips.com, you'll find the show notes for this episode and access to all of our blog posts, previous podcasts, advertiser information, and much more. Thank you for listening to Warehouse Safety Tips and have a safe day.